Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my third and most likely final video in the Cantina Sector 9 Signal Data Experiment series. We have been tracking data on the new Cantina battles since CG first put them into the game, including the reset that we had to do when they updated the drop rates on Cantina 9F. And I do have some new information to add to the equation when it comes to that. What I do want to make clear is even though I am going to be ceasing doing videos on this subject. This will be the final one unless CG fundamentally changes something or throws a wrench into this or provides us with official drop rates. I tried, guys. I really begged, I pleaded, I tried to get them out of Meathead. Unless those things happen, I don't see a reason to produce more video content. But it will be going on Discord. I will be putting the infographics on Slice of Otagunga. I will be updating them if I see anything pertinent there. With all of that said, if you have found this series useful, if it has helped and informed your ability to farm your signal data, to advance in this game, please hit the subscribe button. Please share this video with other people that will find it useful. Not many people are talking about this. I am the only person who is taking the time to put this together, and it does mean a lot to me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, Cantina Sector 9 has been a divisive topic. Some people are saying you should go back to Sector 8 if you want specific signal data. I have so much as said that as well. Cantina Sector 9 is better if you are doing general farming. I personally believe that the majority of players towards the end game should probably do most of their farming here in that Cantina Sector 9. I know that not many people need gray or green signal data anymore, and they're wondering why they should bother with the lower drop rates. And my two answers here obviously are: you lose the option of being able to get Omicrons if you are on Cantina Sector 8. And we are going to see an increased importance on Relic 10. So being able to push out that corrupted signal data and making sure that you're on top of that early on is really a great thing, especially if you are free to play or a casual spender and you're not wailing on those packs. When it comes to the actual data that we have ourselves, most people here know about one of my studies. This is the study that we publicly inputted, and we had 15 pages of people contributing data. As of this video, we have seen about 24,000 data points inputted. The majority of them being on Cantina 9F, right? You can clearly see 9B is very unloved. 9D has a pretty decent amount of data, and 9F has triple the amount of 9D. And what that essentially means is that 9F, our estimated drop rates are going to be much, much, much more reliable, whereas our 9B, 9D data is going to be in like that 90 percentile range, where we probably have it very, very close. It's not exact, and that's okay. The reality is that we are never really going to get there. What most people don't know is that there was a second study that we started doing about 3 to 4 weeks ago. This was not a public study, and it was something that I was doing with myself, with several of my big spender friends who graciously allowed me to go into their games and do their Cantina battles for them, and a few people that I trust mathematically in a frequency experiment. Now, in this secondary experiment, we were tracking the exact drops of every instance of a drop. which meant we wanted to see how often a battle dropped 0, how often a battle dropped 1, how often a battle dropped 2, which meant that we had to do each and every one of our battles one by one. And in that instance, we have one, two, three, approximately 4,000 data points. It's not an amazing amount of data, but this was a study that had a much higher error point and a much higher error potential. So I really did not want to chance or risk just throwing it out to the public and not knowing the people who were contributing. What we have done here is I have taken the numbers from both of those studies. I have cross referenced the numbers from both of those studies to give you what is essentially my best guess estimate for the exact drop tables for all of Cantina Sector 9. Now, before we get into that, I want to just kind of jump back because this is where things may get a little bit confusing. When we talk about the drop table, we are talking about the drop rates of each instance within that drop table, right? So 0 is an instance, 1 is an instance, 2 is an instance. When we talk about effective drop rate, we are talking about when we sim everything together, what we can expect to get when we consider any of the drop instances that are happening. Now, does that honestly matter? No, it really doesn't. But it's something that I've been curious about since Cantina Sector 8, and it does explain to us why something like gray signal data, which has an over 100% drop rate, can still drop 0 signal data in any given battle. Now, I have 3 infographics here. 2 of them are similar to ones I've shown in the past, but they have been updated and notated a little bit differently, and I'll explain when we get to them. So let's throw those up on the screen. Our first we went all the way to the third one. Our first infographic is our using 10,000 energy using 10,000 energy simulated what we can expect in terms of crystal value. We see on the left side 8C, 8F, 8G. They have not changed at all. Those are relatively static. And once again, I will be putting these on Discord and on Reddit and possibly on Substack if I can find the time to put that stuff together as well. When we look at 9B, 9D, and 9F, those drops have changed just a little bit, with the crystal value of 9B, I believe, shifting up, 9D shifting down slightly, and 9F shifting up pretty decently, making 9F even more attractive than we had kind of originally anticipated when we were looking at a drop rate of somewhere around 45%, and now it looks to be a little bit closer to that 50%. My advice remains the same. Again, if you are in a short-term problematic space, you need to get a specific signal data by a specific date. Go back to Cantina Sector 8. But in all honesty, I think that most players are better served staying on Cantina Sector 9 and using any spillover or leftover on their corrupted signal data, even if it means taking an extra 3, 4, 5 days on any given major farm. Going into our infographic number 2, we are looking at the efficiency per signal data. One huge notable change here, I have changed the coefficient from per 100 energy to per 120 energy. One thing that I did notice on Discord is that when Vel came to the game or became farmable on Cantina Sector 9, one of the criticisms of my old graphic was because the coefficient was 100, it was really hard to compare the values when a refresh is actually 120 energy spent. So when we look at these numbers, they are going to be significantly different than the numbers we saw in the infographic previously. As a reminder, that is the amount of signal data you can expect to get per 120 energy spent. Um, on the left-hand side, we are talking about the corrupted signal data value. So for 120 energy spent, you are going to get about 0.4097 corrupted signal data on Cantina Sector 8 for gray or green, or 0.3414 for blue in Sector 8. We can see those numbers kind of jump pretty high up there when we're looking at Cantina Sector 9. 9B obviously being the most efficient, even though it is the least well-loved node at 0.5137 corrupted signal data per 120 energy spent. Even though 9B is obviously the most efficient value, it is clear that it is a node that has undesirable signal data. What is interesting here is that in the past, 9D looked to be more efficient than 9F. With more data, that does not appear to be the case anymore, which makes 9F a pretty reasonable place to farm if you are looking to push over your green signal data while also still getting your blue signal data. Keep in mind that'll cut your efficiency on corrupted signal data, but you'll still be using that blue signal data anyway. On the right-hand side is the amount of signal data you can expect to get per 120 energy spent. So as an example, Cantina 8, 9.9 gray, 7.43 green, or 4.95 blue, and 9B right over here, 9D in the middle, and 9F over here on the right. Now, this is all information you have had before, just slightly updated, and we've changed the method just a little bit. This next infographic is completely new. I just finished it not even an hour ago. This is essentially the effective drop rates based on cross-referencing both of those studies. Now, really, when we cross-reference those things, we are going to see a range for all of our drop rates, so that 11% drop rate is honestly more like somewhere between 9% to 13%. Looking at both studies, this is my best guess on the exact drop rate. It is as close as we can possibly get. This could change as we complete this study and as we move forward in the study. As we can see for gray on Cantina 9B, there is actually an 11% chance that you get zero signal data, zero gray signal data, but there is a 126.2% effective drop rate because the drop rate of getting two signal data is 37.2%. And that's kind of neat to know, even though most players are not doing their sims one at a time. It does explain the idea of, hey, wait a second, I thought this was over 100%. How am I getting zero? Now, we don't need to go through each and every number, but just to give you an idea of the effective drop rates, I am looking at an effective drop rate of 126.2% gray signal data and 60.5% green signal data on Cantina 9B. On Cantina 9D, 129.3% gray signal data, 40.7% blue signal data, and on Cantina 9F, we are seeing 86.2% green signal data and 49.6% blue signal data. I do want to make something clear here, though. When we look at these two infographics, these are strictly by the data. 100% they are ripped from our number one experiment with 24,000 data points spread across those three nodes. This third infographic is slightly speculative because we are looking at the data from the first experiment, and we are looking at the data from the second experiment, and we are informing our decisions based on that. So this may change slightly in the future as we continue that experiment. Now, with all of that said, I do want to say that it looks like a lot of the interest in the Cantina signal data collection experiment number 1 has started to wane down, and I have not seen a significant increase in data for 9B or 9D over the last week and a half. And 9F at 16,000 data points is pretty close to what we can expect, or as close as we possibly can get to a full on drop rate. So we are going to put a pause on that specific um, experiment going forward. For those of you that are currently working on experiment 2 with me, I am going to continue working on that. I am going to continue simming my Cantina one battle at a time at this point so that we can make those numbers even more concrete. But I do feel reasonably sure that the numbers in my effective drop rate table are insanely close to where we can expect our drop table to be. And I do want to give a shout out to literally everybody that has helped me out with this project. I know that it helps you guys out too, so that you can know where to farm, but it is so meaningful to me when I don't have to put in all the work on my own. It takes a 6-month project and it shrinks it down into a 3-week or a 4-week project. All that said and done, once again, if you found this information useful, hit subscribe. Come join us on Discord. The infographics will be there for you. If you're from Reddit, the infographics will be there for you. You will possibly find them on Substack as well if I have the time to do that in the morning when I wake up. Peace out. Have a great rest of your night, your day, your weekend, whenever you see this.